things that I basically stand for. I know that I have about 15 minutes here, but what I'd rather do is turn it over to questions and listen, be my guest, anything, I'm sure. I know you'll not hold back. Sure.
You just touched upon your energy policies of what you support, the energy policies you support. How do you feel about T. Boone Pickens, his energy plan?
T. Boone Pickens is a very interesting guy. Okay, the reason for it is that he's totally motivated by profit, and why I find that interesting is because it greatly dovetails what we're talking about here, basically wind energy and things of that nature. T. Boone Pickens doesn't go into something if it doesn't make a profit. I don't go into something if it's not environmentally sound. It seems to me that those two things can work together, and I would like to do that. But my idea here is that within a period of 2 to 3 years, I'd like to see every house in the United States. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I'd like to see every one of them with 2 things on the roof. I'd like to see a windmill similar to the ones they put on sailboats, okay, and I'd like to see a solar panel. That wouldn't be enough to run any house here, but what it would do is put an awful lot of that energy right back into the grid, and probably cut about 15% from what I've been able to read. The other thing is that if everybody here, okay, every one of these lights was changed to a CFD, okay, that would also save 15% on the electric power. I think within a very short time we could cut it back by 30%, and that would take pressure off your off oil. Oil isn't really used, you know what I'm saying, for automobiles and that kind of thing. But it seems to me that we could start turning to electric cars. Ultimately, that's where the savior is in cars. To electric cars, and by generating it from wind and solar through the system I just talked about. Incidentally, I also think it's a matter of national security that we get off oil. Think about Iraq. Okay, what is Iraq really about? Anybody believe it's about anything but oil? Okay, it's about oil. And if you get off that oil, right, then you've made yourself much more secure as a nation. Because as we deplete the oil resources throughout this world, and we have an issue. I mean, 2 years ago I was saying that gasoline was going to be about $4 or $5 a gallon. I'm right in the ballpark right now. And you give it another 5 years, you're going to be talking about $12, $13 a gallon. And the question you're going to ask yourself is a very simple one. Do I heat my home in the winter and keep my kids warm? Right? Or do we go to war, say, this time with Venezuela in order to get their oil? You know, how far away can Canada be? And while I think we're a much better nation than that, the way to do it is to make sure that we tap into that good old American ingenuity and make sure that we put up all these things. And incidentally, every one of these windmills, you know, they're building them in Texas, right? Right now, then excuse me, they're putting them up in Texas. Every one of those windmills in Texas is made either in Belgium or Germany. And you don't know what's going to happen 20 years down the line. I mean, it was only 40 years ago, 50 years ago that we had a problem with Germany, okay? I'm not saying I'm expecting one, but I don't know what's going to happen. So I'd like to see us reinvigorate our manufacturing here by having every single one of those windmills and every single one of those solar panels imprinted right on it, made in the USA. If it's made in the USA, then we can't be subject to those kinds of pressures from foreign nations. It's one less reason why we would ever have to go to war. Sure. Could you say your name?
David Silversmith. About your progressive democratic values.
Yeah.
I think you've only actually been a Democrat for a relatively short period of time. So how do we know that your progressive democratic values are genuine and not the result of political posturing?
I have never been anything but a registered Democrat for my entire life.
But you did work for
I never worked for. No. I never worked for Monty Goldman. Listen, here's what it is. I was a chairman of Community Board 10. Okay, when I was a chairman of Community Board 10, I was very much interested, in fact, long before that, in something called zoning in Bay Ridge. I was also interested in a number of other things that were all local. The reason why I supported Marty Golden is because Marty Golden supported me, and it's that simple. I have never worked for somebody before that, and never worked for anybody after that. I gave Marty Golden donations, and I gave a few donations to Republicans during that same period of time. During the same period of time, I also donated to Democrats. I donated thousands of dollars to Democrats before it, and thousands since. That was a local issue. It remains a local issue. I think what we did was right, and I stand by it. Next question.
I think you kind of partly answered it with your previous answer, not discussion, but previous question. I just want to know, if you get the Congress, what will you do about outsourcing of jobs?
Only partially answered. I oppose NAFTA, CAFTA, WAFTA, BAFTA, ZAFTA, any AFTAs at all. All right, to me, it's really a very simple matter. Okay, number one, I think that I talked about the green economy that can be actually spurred on by exactly what we're talking about right now, energy. Okay, but I believe that what we're doing is we're taking American jobs, we're outsourcing them to nations that do not have the same types of environmental and labor laws as we do. And the result is that we lose jobs, and those nations exploit people in order to make products for our nation. Okay, I think that's a very, very big mistake. If we want to have fair trade, that's fine with me. Fair trade, what we do with Canada, what we do with Japan, what we do with most of Europe is absolutely fine because they have similar types of laws. And under those circumstances, I have no problem. But what we have to do is not drag ourselves down. We have to drag other nations up. And when it comes to a nation like Mexico, I'd like to see us support them so they can build their economy so that someday we can have free trade with them. Fair trade, not necessarily free.
We have our final question over here. What is your stance on marriage equality? And I think you can ask the proponents.
I am in favor of same-sex marriage. All right, and I support it all the way. And I'll tell you, it's not something either that I hide. Okay, you'll find it on my website, you'll find it on my literature, and I proudly support the endorsements of Stonewall just 2 weeks ago. Very proud of that. Atlanta and the Jim Owell's Liberal Democratic Club in Manhattan, which has only been around for a few years, but it's very, very strong, progressive, basically game.
One more question.
Would you support Congressman Dennis Kucinich's bill to establish the Department of Peace?
I don't know anything about Congress. I can tell you that Dennis Kucinich has been supporting me for a long time, but I don't know about the Department of Peace. What we're talking about, you know, it's interesting. I know. You know that it used to be the Department of War. Okay? And then after there was the Department of War, they made it the Department of the Army and the Navy. Then they made it the Department of Defense. I've always thought that the way it's been working has more been a matter of the Department of Offense. Okay? Because we seem to put those types of things together, and I think that we have to change that. So I'm not sure about his about what the plan is. I have to take a look at it. Okay? But I will tell you that sounds good.
It's to counterbalance the over.
It sounds good. And incidentally, I believe that we really do have to, when it comes to Iraq, if you look at my plan, responsible plan, I don't just come up there and say I want to get out of Iraq. I worked with other people. Incidentally, there were military people who worked on this to make sure that it was militarily feasible. If you go on there, we also talk about things like restoring America's, what's the word I'm looking for, a position in the world, right? That we've lost, we're looked down so much. But I'll tell you one thing that really, really encouraged me this week. This week, if you watched President Obama, okay, and that makes me feel very happy to say there's no question that he's restoring our standing in the world even before he becomes president. To me, what he needs is he needs progressive Democrats to support him, right, in the Congress, and that's why I'm running. Thank you all very much.